This is going to be a short series called Misunderstood Philosophers. Now, Nietzsche's the first one. He's very misunderstood. Part of the reason is that he's so quotable. Which the good part of that is that more people know about him because he's so quotable. People say his quotes all the time. The downside is that it increases the likelihood of him being misunderstood because people hear the quotes way out of the contexts in which they were said. One example, and I think I've done a video about this already, is Nietzsche's phrase, "God is dead," from Das Spectre Zarathustra. People seem to misunderstand it. They think that the term "God is dead" means that they take it literally. They think that Nietzsche is saying that God used to exist, he used to be alive, and now he's dead. But Nietzsche did not mean it literally at all. In fact, I've read the book that quote comes from, and it's a heavily poetic book. Like, very, very poetic. And the thing about poetry is that you're not supposed to take it literally. I mean, that's sort of the point. And in context, what God is dead means is that to a large number of people, despite saying that they believe that a God exists, act and live as if he didn't exist. So Nietzsche's character was saying that the people in that town were living as if God was dead, and hence symbolically killed God. Also, Nietzsche was not the first one to say the phrase. Martin Luther said it first. Martin Luther is a extremely religious person. The Lutheran Church is named after him, to give you an idea. And he said in this story about someone, a story about himself losing his faith temporarily and then gaining it back, and how ridiculous he found the phrase "God is dead" to be. But he said it first, so I think that might also be useful. I should also mention that both Penn Jillette and Christopher Hitchens are both guilty of misinterpreting this quote and taking it too literally. It was a video I heard where Penn Jillette misunderstood the quote, and Christopher Hitchens, somewhere, I don't remember exactly where, but in his book "God is Not Great," he is an example of him taking the quote too literally and misunderstanding it. It's been a long time since I've read that book, so you'll have to figure out where it's at on your own if you really want to find the example. But yeah. And also, when it comes to Nietzsche being a nihilist, I don't think he's a nihilist at all. For one, he's too existentialist. And existentialism, a big thing about existentialism is that they start you off in a nihilism hole, but then they get you out of the hole. Existentialism always gives you the ladder to escape nihilism. And Nietzsche had some ladders, which was passion, which a lot of existentialists are for. And also, Nietzsche had his own kind of version of virtue ethics. And the will to triumph, which that phrase is kind of loaded and has been misused, but that in itself is very unnihilistic. And but yeah, he does seem to have a virtue ethics, because he does seem to believe in a kind of teleology when it comes to humans. Real quick, teleology is sort of like the idea that humans have like a perfect, or like the best sort of strategy for living that'll make them the best. Like, for instance, he says that Christianity does the opposite of teleology. Here's the best way to live. Christianity goes the opposite direction. And he says that it's essentially Christianity just rationalizes bad behavior, or rationalizes weakness. I don't want to get too far into that. Point is that Nietzsche didn't. So summarize, Nietzsche does not believe, or did not believe, that God existed, he was alive, and then he died. Literally, figuratively and metaphorically. And Nietzsche was not a nihilist. I don't know how anyone could think he was a nihilist. I think the only reason why they think he's a nihilist is because his ethics is so weird, and people tend to call people not nihilists just because their ethical thoughts are strange. And also, he talked about nihilism all the time. Or not all the time, but quite a bit. But yeah, that's it, really. That's all.